if you think about a franchise operation as sort of three legs, you have a franchisor, you have your thousands of franchisees, and then you have a financing source for those franchisees. What makes this powerful for the franchisor, of course, is that, again, it's high leverage. You can grow faster using other people's money at lower risk to your balance sheet. For the franchisees, it's even more powerful because they're getting access to a proven business model that has a high likelihood of success, and so that are almost always more profitable than a non-franchise business in the same category. And then the banks love it too, because for the banks, investing in a McDonald's franchise is a lot lower risk than investing in an independent, and so it's lower risk for the banks. And when you translate this to the sector that we're most interested in, which is this bottom billion, it's particularly powerful because one of the challenges in lending to the very poor is that the underwriting costs are high relative to the amount of money you're lending. And so if you can reduce those underwriting costs by using predictable franchise models, it allows you to extend the benefit of that financing to a lot more entrepreneurs. A lot of innovation comes from combination. A lot of the potential that I see in the space that we work is the convergence of business models and new technology. So you take a 150-year-old successful business model like direct selling, which is based on networking relationships, and then you combine that with today's technology of mobile phones, mobile money, and social media. You can see how those things really mesh well together. And I think you bring those things together, it enables you to deliver products and services to much poorer consumers, more marginalized, because of the efficiency of the technology. I'll give you a really simple example. An agent, when we wanted to roll out a promotion at Living Goods, before we really integrated mobile phones, it would take 2 months. Design it, communicate it to the agents, then they would have to walk out to 100 households and communicate it on foot. We can now do that in 2 hours, or 20 minutes even in some cases, because every agent has a phone and every one of their customers is registered on our system. So the speed and the efficiency that this very simple technology gives to these very basic entrepreneurs, these are $2 and $3 a day kind of entrepreneurs, is really powerful. And I think we're just at the beginning of this wave of opportunity in these emerging markets. I am of two minds about social enterprise. On the one hand, I'm a social entrepreneur, and I'm really enjoying living, working, and being in this space. And I think there's a tremendous amount of interest and momentum and opportunity. On the other hand, when I think about social enterprises that are incorporated or as nonprofits, I think there's real limits. There haven't been a lot of breakout, large-scale nonprofit social enterprises. And we talked here today at a panel at SOM about the limitations of the nonprofit structure in terms of driving innovation, driving urgency, and leading to smart combinations of organizations, all things which don't occur naturally in the nonprofit world. Maybe one way to think about it is in Living Goods, we sort of think about as using, frankly, low-cost grant capital as a way of incubating, using sort of very high-risk capital to incubate business idea that has great potential. So our goal is to spin off for-profit businesses from this nonprofit social enterprise. I think the social enterprise space is very exciting. It's fast-growing. It's attracting a lot of talent out of business schools. A lot of people, I think, who might have thought about starting a company or joining Wall Street 10 years ago are now thinking about starting socially motivated enterprises, be they for-profit or nonprofit. And that's all good. We still haven't seen the kind of breakout successes that I think we all sort of yearn for. What I would love to see is more discipline, more engaged money, and greater ambition. A lot of these things remain rather small, powerful, interesting, useful, but small. And I think we want powerful, interesting, useful, and big. One of the things I'm really interested in promoting is a change in the way nonprofits are financed, and in particularly the way that philanthropists think. When Living Goods started, we were approached by a Yale alum, Bill Draper, who was on the corporation, with an offer of a significant grant. But he had a different approach, which is that he wanted to be very high touch, high engagement. And my initial reaction was, geez, can you just give us the money and let us do our thing? And I was very glad that we got this grant and that we ended up collaborating really closely with Bill and his foundation, because the level of experience that he brought from his venture capital days was indispensable to Living Goods. And it brought just this kind of sort of urgency and accountability that I think is hard to find in the nonprofit sector. And so what I think we need much more at the intersection of social enterprise and philanthropy is more of this sort of high engagement, risk-tolerant kind of capital out of philanthropists. I first worked in the nonprofit sector, then I started and built a business, and then I went back and started a nonprofit. And I find myself much more excited and enthusiastic today about the potential for transforming big business than trying to create a new category of quote unquote social businesses. I think there's a point where if you start saying to investors that we're going to sacrifice return for the social benefit, I think you massively limit the amount of capital you're ever going to attract. What you want are these powerful, large businesses that have great purpose, powerful missions, and that are also, a great investment opportunity. I think that's the only way you get scale.